Hello fellow cinephiles, 90s Film Guru here. For those new to the channel, my name's Sean, also known as 90s Film Guru, and I started this channel having my say about particular things from the 90s, especially movies and TV shows. So thanks for joining me today. Today I'll be reviewing Executive Decision. The film came out in 1996 and was made for a budget of $55 million and went on to make $122 million. It was the directorial debut of Stuart Bird and it starred Kurt Russell, John Leguizamo, Halle Berry, Steven Seagal, Oliver Platt and a variety of others. I've long been a fan of this film. I remember seeing it at the cinema. One of the big draws originally was Steven Seagal was in it, and being a younger teen and enjoying action movies with my father, Seagal was definitely a staple, and this sort of is what drew me to this film originally. But as people who've seen this know, Seagal doesn't play the biggest part in this film. It's about 40 minutes in, it shifts focus to Kurt Russell's character. So that was a bit disappointing when I first saw this film. But over the years, I've grown to really love this movie, and I really love Kurt Russell, one of the very few actors who can play an everyman and an hero, and he does both in this film, and I think he's really great. A lot of aspects of this film did remind me of Jack Ryan, and the different incarnations of that character and environments he's in. Just the fact that he's an analyst that gets thrown into this world and has to become the hero because he's nobody else. I kind of like that, so that's sort of how it really ties in with the Jack Ryan, and could have been a Jack Ryan film easily. For those who haven't seen it, the film is about a group of terrorists who take over a plane. And it's about how they send in this military team to try and take the plane back. But due to tragedy, analyst David Grant, played by Kurt Russell, is thrust into an environment he's unfamiliar with, and he has to rise to the occasion to help these soldiers take over the plane before it's too late. It's a solid cast, and I really like the performances here. Kurt Russell's a big standout for me. I've been a big fan of his for a very, very long time, and he's slowly becoming one of my favourite actors. I just really love everything he's done, and I really like this film where he's thrown into this thing he can't understand or explain, and he doesn't really know what he's doing, but when they ask him to do something, he doesn't question, he jumps straight into action, and he becomes the hero in the end, making his own decisions after taking on the responsibility of being the leader, so to speak, of the group. And he rises to the occasion in such a great way, and what I love most about this film is it's kind of like that sort of thriller horror movies, or that genre where it's like something will happen, there's a moment to breathe, and then something else will happen. It's this continuous thing throughout the film. It goes, something happens and then the calmness, and it's just like they have to keep facing adversity all the way through the film. One thing doesn't go right, they have to do something else. That doesn't go right, they have to do something else, and it continuously goes like that. I really like that aspect to the film. I thought it's a way of really investing in the characters, and it keeps the suspense and momentum of the film going in such a great way. And it's like Kurt Russell's character, David Grant, is sort of brings everybody back to the present moment in a lot of way. Oliver Platt's character gets a bit carried away. He isn't mean or aggressive to him, but he just finds a way to calm him down because it's not helping their situation. And when John Leguizamo's character is trying to work out what to do and doesn't know what to do, Grant steps up to be that thing that they need, to be the calmness and the collective and understanding of what needs to happen so they can proceed with this particular mission. Reluctant hero of sorts, kind of like a Western figure, but he's just so great, and he's sort of a great anchoring points throughout it. One I do like is when we first meet David Grant, he's flying a plane with an instructor, and the instructor says after they land, you're ready for your solo flight, and he's not confident, but the instructor says to him, you can do this. And so he goes to go, and he's ultimately stopped because Dave Grant is needed. But then that comes back later in the film where he has to pilot the plane towards the end of the movie. He's not real confident in what he's doing, but it gives him the opportunity to actually have this solo flight that he wanted before. I love too that most of the film, pretty much all of the film, is set on the plane, and how they make that suspenseful and interesting. There are moments that aren't on the plane, obviously, when we meet Seagal's military team when they're looking for this particular explosive, and obviously when we see David Grant in the war room trying to work out what's going on and them trying to get onto the plane. But ultimately, most of the film takes place on the plane. The way they're able to keep suspense going and keep you engaged all the ways is really a testament to the writer and also the director, Stuart Bird, who really hadn't directed before, and this was his first film, and I think he's done a fantastic job with it. It's just so engaging and interesting, and continues this great, like I said, momentum that you can't take your eyes off the screen because you're wondering what's going to happen next, and it keeps escalating and evolving into something else, and I like that. I like the villain in it. There's a lot of aspects to this movie I really like. Obviously they wouldn't do a terroristy film taking over a plane these days due to everything that's transpired in the last 10-20 years. But there's just something about when they used to do movies like this in the 90s, they used to do a lot of these sort of films where terrorists would take over a plane and it's about the hero trying to stop them. Passenger 57, for example, and a variety of other films, Die Hard 2 in part. Way to go about it, and keeping it engaging in a contained area is really, really great. It has a lot of old school effects, model work, which I love. I adore model work, especially in like the 80s and 90s. Just how they sort of were able to do that, to me it's like nostalgic of what they used to do and before digital effects, and I really love that. It just feels much more real to me, even though I can tell when it's a model, but it just looks great, and I like that use of those models and that particular time. And this film definitely takes advantage of that, especially with getting onto the plane and a variety of other things that happen within the plane, and I like that. And you see more of that towards the end of the film, in this is the end of the movie, which I really liked as well. There's just something really fun and wonderful about practical effects and model work. Like I mentioned, they keep this movie going, the suspense, and it's just like these little things they have to do, where they have to go around setting up cameras across in the top of the plane to see who's there and where all of these sort of terrorists are, and trying to find one particular terrorist leader. And David Grant doesn't know what he looks like, but he knows what he sounds like, and it's really about them finding it. Those sort of moments are great. They find a bomb and what they have to do with Oliver Platt and the other character as well, trying to diffuse or come up with a plan of how to stop that, and how everything has to work in connection with each other. So they have to stop the bomb at a time and find the guy who has the detonator. And it's just about them working out how to do that. And there's so many scenes throughout the film like that, where a character gets injured or whatever, and David Grant, has to have a gun, has to become part of them. And it's really cool, those sort of aspects to the movie. And the ending's fantastic as well. Like I mentioned, they keep finding themselves in trouble, and the territory keeps getting worse and worse, and what they have to do. And it's really, David Grant shines, rises to the occasion, becomes the hero, gets involved in things he would never get involved in because he knows he's nobody else, and he has to partake in this or they won't accomplish their mission. In the end, it's a solid movie, great performances, a solid story, a suspenseful moments, great action sequences, and great suspense all the way through that keeps it moving and keeps you engaged. This is definitely one of my favourite films in the 90s. I think it's a very enduring and interesting film. And it's a film I go back to from time to time. It's only dated by certain things such as computers, which a lot of the 90s movies are, because we're so far ahead of that technology now. I'm going to give Executive Decision 4 out of 5. I would highly recommend this film. It's a really great movie, really engaging, and there's something really wonderful about it and entertaining that I really love. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe down the bottom. Follow me on Letterboxd and Facebook. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.